I started going to nightclubs in New York City when I was only 16 years old. I remember going to the Palladium, walking up that famous staircase, and when I got to the top, I just knew it, like, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. I moved to Pittsburgh in 96 and started throwing hip-hop parties. I got my start in a small spot called Zito's and pretty quickly worked my way up to renting out the biggest club in the city called Metropole. And the only night they would give me was a Monday, but regardless, I ended up putting 700 people through the door. They were so happy getting a rental fee, they never realized I wasn't even old enough to get in the club. After that, it was on. Between 2000 and 2003, I started doing concerts and brought in acts like The Arsonist, Atmosphere, De La Soul, Wu-Tang, Redman and Method Man, Biz Markie, Beanie Man, and 50 Cent. At the same time, I got into the flyer business and owned one of the first gang run printing operations in the Midwest. I opened my own nightclub at 22. It was an after hours called The Spot. It also started a magazine called Access. I designed the entire thing myself, and we distributed like 5,000 copies a month and was in publication for almost 2 years. At the recommendation of my man Schizo, I started taking design more seriously and started doing the flyers for all the major concerts coming into the city, like Nas, Lil Wayne, Juvenile, Lil Scrappy, Jeezy when he was still young Jeezy, Jadakiss, Joe Budden when he was still rapping, Young Buck, Jim Jones, Styles P, and a bunch of others I can't even remember. This is around the time that I decided if I was going to take nightlife seriously, I had to move back to a major city. So, in 2005, I moved to South Beach. I didn't know anyone in Miami, but my plan was to just start handing out business cards, and apparently it worked because the first client I landed was designing some business cards for Miami Inc. They ended up adding me to their MySpace top 8, which caught the eye of Alex Miranda. And less than 6 months after moving to Miami, I got with him, Richie, and Ruben for the start of the Creative Complex. We did stuff for Mansion, Privé, Set, Cameo, Mokai. I was also taking in a bunch of side work, doing flyers for nightclubs all over the country. After about a year, I decided it was probably best to go out on my own. 2 accounts came with me, 400 Club and So Be Live. Soon after, I picked up Conflict, Tina T, DJ Scene, and Kevin Scott. If you came to Miami between 2005 and 2013, pretty much guaranteed you've seen my work. I also partnered with Marston House for a hip-hop website called Cypher Circuit and hosted a bunch of ciphers at our studio in Philly. I should probably also mention Notice Worthy, Notice NYC, The Finest in Fitness, and The Anderson List. Sometime around 2014, I decided to focus my services more toward DJs, and because of Conflict, I started doing stuff for a bunch of other DJs on the Rich Group, and over the next 10 years, I'd go on to add over 350 DJs to my client list. I don't know if there's anyone else who's worked with more DJs than me, but putting in all that work is how I ended up with some of the best DJs in the world, like Green Lantern, Kenny Dope, Louis Vega, and Jazzy Jeff. But then COVID hit, which is when I took over Terry Hunter's brand. 7 months later, he landed the Beyonce remix, which led to Grammy nominations 2 years in a row, and got me some work from his inner circle, like Dion Cole and Estelle, and put me in a position where I ended up handling everything for the longest running house music festival in the world. Shout out to the Chosen Few Picnic. All I know is, kid from Long Island who first walked into Palladium at 16 years old, he ended up having a pretty good run.